This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here with Fritz Wieninger, who is here to speak about his wines from his Wiener vines all the way from Vienna, Austria. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now, we've just been tasting through a number of your wines. Not many people realize that there are quite a number of vineyards actually in Vienna itself. Which is a bit of an anomaly. You don't see that in many cities, that's for sure. But how many vineyards are there today?
There is still about 700 hectares of vineyards within the city limits of Vienna,
Yes.
which makes Vienna the only million city in the world with its own wine region.
And how come this land hasn't been developed? Because Vienna is an expanding city, and I'm sure some of that is quite prime land. I've been to some of the vineyards, and they're in beautiful situations overlooking the city.
The city government does, in fact, protect the land very strict, and it is not possible to build houses or villas up there. The land would be really in prime locations, overlooking the whole city. Of course, there's a lot of pressure from real estate developers, but the city is very strict, and it's getting even stricter these days, and I think that's good that way.
I think it is also. Now, what makes the wines that come from Vienna so special? What differentiates them from, say, the wines of Klimt, Wachau and the like?
Well, from the terroir is not so different. Maybe the chalk content is in the Viennese basin or in the Vienna area higher. We have a lot of limestone and a lot of sediments from a former ocean that covered all Vienna 100 million years ago. And the sediments of those shells and so on are still components of our soil. I think another important part is the climate that is more open to the south, starting in Vienna. Vienna is located at the very last rolling hills of the Alps, and then the flatter areas towards Hungary start, and that's much warmer. So compared to Kremstal, it's just an hour by car further south where Vienna is located, but it's for sure a degree in average temperature different, and we harvest our grapes at least 1 or 2 weeks earlier than further up north.
Now, traditionally, there has been a very specific wine style made in the vineyards of Vienna. This is a field blend of up to 11 varietals, I believe?
No, it can be even more.
Oh, really?
The wine is called Wiener gemischter Satz, which means Wiener is Viennese, gemischter is mixed, and Satz means like planting or plantation. Wiener gemischter Satz, a wine that comes from a vineyard where different grape varieties are planted, and they have to be harvested at the same time, co-pressed and co-fermented, and then it's a Wiener gemischter Satz, a very authentic wine for our region. It has to be a minimum of 3 different grape varieties, but usually it's 6 or 10 or 12, something around that. That's the typical style of Wiener gemischter Satz.
And which grape varietals would one find normally in these field blended wines?
If it's a lighter version, then usually the Grüner Veltliner and the Welsch Riesling are the more important grape varieties. If it's a more serious one, then usually Pinot Blanc is the top, or Neuburger. Again, Grüner Veltliner, but not that big percentage anymore.
Right.
It's open to the producer. It's also a way of creating their own style for each of the producers. The law does not tell you what varieties you have to plant. You can plant whatever you want, and the one wants more a heavier style, the other wants more a fruitier style. So it's open to the wine producer, to the winemaker, to plant whatever he likes.
Now, you also have a single varietal Grüner Veltliner, which comes from a very specific site within Nussberg, Nussberg being one of the prominent sites around about the city of Vienna. Would you mind telling us something about Nussberg and something about this very specific site you have within Nussberg?
Yes, of course. The Nussberg is on the right-hand side of the Danube River. It's a formation of limestone lots of fossil limestone. When Vienna was covered by an ocean, the Nussberg was on most of the parts a coral reef, and the sediments of these shales are now the main important components. The clay content is a little bit higher, so the wine style, and I'm talking purely about white wines, the wine style is more complex, the acidity is a little more moderate, the alcohol content is usually higher, and the wines are creamier and more spicy and less fruity. It's more a secondary aroma that develops.
Right.
That is the typical style of the Nussberg. And the Nussberg itself, it's a bigger hill actually, is divided in many small crus, and one of the crus is Preußen, where I produce actually I think my most interesting or best Grüner Veltliner from. Preußen is pretty much in the center of the Nussberg, and the name comes from very old days when the German army in 1683 helped with the Polish army, Sobieski, to defeat the Turkish invasion. The Turkish wanted to invade Europe and were stopped in Vienna. And these Germans, the Preuß, they had their tents exactly where my vineyard is today.
So I noticed that on all of your bottles you have the Respect logo. Would you mind explaining something about Respect and what it means to you to be growing grapes and making wine biodynamically?
Well, this biodynamic development is actually a long story. To make it shorter, Respect is a biodynamic association, similar to Demeter, with very fine differences. In 2005, I found out that the conventional way is kind of in a dead-end street. I was unhappy with what we did at that time and was looking for alternative ways. And I asked a friend to help me to convert a few vineyards, and I saw during these next 2 years that this is very much more what I expect from my vineyards, giving grapes and wines that taste much more in the direction I wanted to have it. Mm-hmm. Wines with a little less alcohol, wines with more terroir tastes, wines with multi-layered flavors, more multi-layered than before, maybe less prime fruity, but this was never my goal, to make a shiny, fresh wine. They are still fresh, but now they are more serious, and that is what I saw that I can gain by converting to biodynamics. And in 2008 I decided to convert the whole winery, and I'm happy with that, because the style of wine became indeed more serious, more multi-layered flavors and more terroir driven. This is exactly my taste, this is what I want to have. It's not more work than before, it's maybe a little more risky. You have to be more in contact with your vineyard to see early enough where could be a problem, where could be a fungus that is growing quicker than we want. But this spending more time with the vineyards also brings me more contact to it. It's for me today much easier to decide what to do with these grapes. Is this really good, or is this more average quality? Does this give a regular wine or more a premium style wine? Today I don't have to find out about that, because I live in the vineyard and I see everything develop from a very early stage on, and the decisions throughout the harvest are very easy these days for me. So I'm happy with, very much happy with this development.
Looking at the Vienna region as a whole, how many producers do farm biodynamically?
Biodynamic, only a handful, I think 3,
right,
4.
Right.
Organic is much more. And Vienna has in Austria the highest percentage of organic viticulture of whole Austria. More than 20% of Viennese vineyards are farmed organic or biodynamic.
That's very interesting, actually.
I'm happy that it's going this direction, and that the colleagues getting more that wants to convert into that strategies.
Well, Fritz, thank you very much for bringing your wines to Toronto today. We greatly enjoyed tasting them this morning, and we look forward to tasting them in the future, perhaps in Vienna the next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.